Hey there, Goblin Horde. I am the Goblin King, and I'm welcoming you back to another tale of hypocrisy and lies, straight from our supposed bidders. This is sort of a twofer tonight, folks, though both are coming from the exact same source. With one, we have this moral grandstanding hypocrite saying one thing in a very clear virtue signal, and then turning around and doing the exact opposite to what she said. I know, no real surprise there. These assholes are very adept at speaking out both sides of their mouths. With the other, we have her race baiting a few days ago, only to have her trying to backtrack on that lie today. Alright, that being said, let's get into this. The first article today comes from Bounding into Comics. It details the outright hypocrisy of one Zoe Kravitz. It seems that last October, Zoe was doing an interview with Another magazine, where she was talking about her role as Catwoman in the then-upcoming Batman film. This is what she had to say about the role then. Quote, I've seen all the movies, yeah. I've read some of the comics now, but I wasn't a comic head or anything. I also tried to think about it not as Catwoman, but as a woman. How does this make me feel? How are we approaching this, and how are we making sure we're not fetishizing or creating a stereotype? She concluded. I knew it needed to be a real person. Unquote. Okay, so, typical Hollywood virtue signaling, right? Roll your eyes and move on because what the fuck do they know? Especially Zoe Kravitz with her probably literal silver spoon. Well, dear goblins, here is where things take a much more interesting and hypocritical turn. A few days ago, Zoe Kravitz decided to post some promotional photos she did with Wonderland to her Instagram account. It seems that in the few months since she did that interview with Another magazine, Miss Kravitz has had a really big change of heart. Since, just from looking at these photos, all that big virtue talk of not fetishizing the Catwoman just seems to have gone right out the fucking window. In this one, we have her in a Catwoman mask with those nice fishnets and Pattinson's hand on her thigh. This one, she's wearing those same fishnets and a leather corset. Oh, and a collar. This next one is really the best one by far, I think. Here she is, in a Catwoman mask, on all fours, lapping milk from a bowl, like a good little kitten. There were others, of course, but these were the ones that really struck me the most as being sort of fetishizing the character. As I said, it seems either Kravitz had a big change of heart, or all those nice words she said to Another magazine were nothing more than wind. A big virtue signal that the woke-tard Zoe Kravitz could light up and show how virtuous and progressive she is. Can't you see, people? She just wants the character to be a real woman's, and not a dirty, sexual object for those terrible, awful men. So, speaking of virtue signaling lies that Zoe Kravitz has told, that brings us right into our next story about her. I don't know about all of you, but I've seen this thing floating around the last few days, right? This little story from The Guardian, talking about how Zoe Kravitz was barred from reading for the part of Catwoman on Nolan's Dark Knight Rises because she was, quote, too urban, unquote. I saw that shit floating around on Twitter. I saw that shit in the Google feed on my phone whenever I'd open up Google to look for something. I even saw it in a couple of random videos from YouTube. At least I'm pretty sure I did. Every time I saw it, I'd chuckle and roll my eyes because Zoe Kravitz, the privileged-ass daughter of Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet, was the victim. The struggle was real, folks, and little Zoe knew all about it. Growing up with rich, successful parents in Hollywood, daughter of Lenny Kravitz, she had her some struggles, y'all. To be honest, if she'd said having her dad be an overrated, wannabe Jimi Hendrix was a struggle, I'd have probably believed her. Hell, I'd have stumped for that woman then. Can't you see the pain she's in? Her dad was a wannabe Jimi Hendrix. She had to live with that. You don't know her pain. But nah, that wasn't what she was claiming at all. She wanted to virtue signal around her race and skin color, claiming that people in Hollywood back in 2012 were telling her she was, quote, too urban to have a role in their film. Quote, I don't know if it came directly from Chris Nolan, she says, anxious not to impugn the reputation of an award-winning director. I think it was probably a casting director of some kind, or a casting director's assistant. Being a woman of color and being an actor and being told at that time that I wasn't able to read because of the color of my skin and the word urban being thrown around like that, that was what was really hard about that moment, unquote. Now, keep in mind that this is the same franchise that had Morgan Freeman in a leading role as Lucius Fox, and he's about 10 shades darker than her little ass. All respect to Morgan Freeman, by the way. That man is awesome and based. Well, it turns out that little story to The Guardian was probably a lie. A lie, a lie, a lie. I'll say it again. Zoe Kravitz lied. I'll admit that's a little hyperbolic, I suppose. I'll state that it seems to be a lie. I'll tell you why in a moment. This, coming in from the Daily Wire, and Zoe Kravitz's own personal Instagram account yet again. Now, the reason that I state that I believe what she said in that interview was a lie is actually very simple. She's walking it back. Now, as you can see from this post to her Instagram, she's still trying to keep the core of what she was saying, but she's now changing the circumstances around it. She's calling for understanding, all that jazz. If she had a real, legitimate grievance here, you know damn well she wouldn't be backing down the way that she is. So, let me just go ahead and read her post for those of you who may just be listening. Again, quote, Okay, let's talk about clickbait bad journalism. I was not told I was too urban to play Catwoman in The Dark Knight. It would have made no sense for me to even be considered for that role at that time. I wanted to audition for a small part in the film and was told, I do not know who said this, but this is how it was worded to me, that they were not going urban on the part. This is something I heard a lot 10 years ago. It was a very different time. For sure, there was actually less overt racism then. Quote, I did not mention this to point any fingers or make anyone seem racist. Yes, you did. Namely Chris Nolan, the film's producers, or anyone on the casting team, because I truly do not believe anyone meant any harm. I was simply given an example of what it was like to be a woman of color in this industry at that time. The same way it is now? Oh wait, no, less racist, that's right. Again, this was many years ago when words like that were thrown around very casually, and although I am very glad that we are attempting to devolve, let's all calm down, as well as fact-check before we write things that are untrue. I love how she thinks evolving is actually going backwards in time. To me, the really golden part is that line at the very end where she talks about people fact-checking before they print things. Bitch, it was your quote. You literally said that. So if there's anyone in this equation who needs to be getting their facts straight, it's obviously you. You were legit born on third base. You grew up privileged and pampered as the wealthy child of two celebrities. Plus, you had all the right genetics to come out looking the way you do. You even had Jason fucking Momoa as a stepdad. The only struggle that you grew up with was that your dad was a Jimi Hendrix wannabe. That's it. But keep lighting up those virtue signals, girl, because I'm having a hell of a time kicking them back down. And that's certainly all I have for you on this one, folks. Let me know what you thought in that handy section down below. While you're down there, join the Viridian Horde by crushing those like and subscribe buttons. I appreciate everyone who does and everyone who listens to my insane ramblings. I'll see you all a bit later for a movie review and tomorrow for another pop culture grubbing. I'll see you then. Lates.